Well, hey there, world. How y'all doing? My name's Carpo, and I'm a father and husband. I have three boys. My oldest is 26, and then I have a 9 and a 12-year-old. And as a parent myself, I feel that I have a stake in the claim of saying that childhood today has got to be quite a pain in the ass. But hasn't it always been? A lot of people will say, well, back in my day, I got whooped and I got spanked. I would say that that was a parental choice and something you should take up with your parents rather than your generation. But nonetheless, I'm picking up my son from school in about a half an hour, and I thought this would be a good time to make a quick video talking to other parents and hopefully non parents as well to understand that the kids are being completely tread upon and ignored in today's society. And it's due to the fact that so many adults are so confused about what's going on right now, especially people in the millennial generation who are just now having their first kids and living through this, all the different world issues that we have right now, on top of perhaps their career path falling apart, having very high student loan debts, and a variety of other issues like not being able to afford a house these days. I mean, I'm Gen X, I'm 45. When I was growing up, houses were just starting to go quite up in price, but we could rent I think it was a two bedroom place down in downtown Lake Oswego, which is the nicer area of Portland, for $425 in the 90s. That same place probably rents for upwards of 2,500 a month now. And it's just untenable for people to think that they have enough to make a living. But I'm talking about the older kids now, and I want to focus on the younger kids because of what's happened during the pandemic over the last couple of years. Parents have lost their minds, and they have become so divided into these camps of fighting amongst each other. And I want people to stop and realize how this affects our kids when we raise them to say, F the president, whether it's the current one or the last one, or whether we're screaming at each other as parents or as family at the dinner table about medical procedures or what's right and what's wrong, and one person calls something a conspiracy, another calls it fact, and we end up really digging in our heels thinking we have the truth, not realizing that the kids listen to all of it. I try to keep my discussions and what I'm watching and listening to, if I'm watching something more controversial, I don't mind if my kids watch it, and I don't mind if they learn about what's going on in the world. But I want them to devise their own opinions on these things. I don't want them to be influenced by their parents, because that's how we got into this mess. So there's a lot of dehumanization going on out there right now. And it's pretty abhorrent. I mean, it's one of the worst things we can do to each other as a nation. A strong nation always destroys itself from the inside. It's never an outside enemy. It's always inside tyranny, because people start fighting amongst themselves thinking they're correct, and half their nation, half their people are completely wrong. The enemy and dehumanization is what leads to fascism. It allows us to grasp onto one person or a group of people or an idea as the one truth, which a lot of people have for a long time. However, all along the way, the media uses this for division. A lot of parents, watch the news all the time. It's always going in the background, constant fear mongering that they're used to, but their kids have to be exposed to. And when adults repeat it, the kids absorb it. And it's not just, of course, the media or politics. This goes into what we're allowing our children to watch. And look, I'm guilty as a parent. It's very hard when your kid's growing up and they want to watch Unspeakable or one of these YouTubers who does nothing but buys a bunch of slime or fills their house with a certain toy or something, and then they just scream and jump around and make noise. But it gets even worse than that. At least they're doing something. Then you have like Ryan's Toy Channel, which every parent's heard of. Ryan's Toys, this poor little kid who's just been exploited by his parents to open up toys all day long. Now, they had issues with, I believe, the FCC, because basically what they're doing is selling products. A company says, hey, open our product and we'll send it to you. This kid's got a whole house full of everything he wants. And I believe a few years back, maybe it was 2019, he was making $11 million per year. Or I should say his parents were. But, a lot of people would say good for him. The kid's earning a living. He's making his life easy by having enough money to retire on. But the point is that it's an exploitation nonetheless. Money won't buy happiness. In the long run, he's going to be yearning for something else. A lot of kids, childhood actors, have been exploited, and the same thing happens. They grow up and they have all kinds of issues. But all kids have issues. So, on top of all this, we've got not only the media inundating our kids with bullshit, but then we've got these crappy YouTube channels, complete garbage, which now have sold a while back to Hulu. If you've ever seen on Hulu, they have all these YouTube kids unboxing channels on there. It's become a racket. There are basically these companies who just find kids on YouTube and go to their parents and say, hey, you want to make some money? But the bigger issue than the kids that are being exploited are all the kids that are being exploited by these kids. Because it's not being declared as ads. It's not being declared as what it is. They'll have these little animated cartoons about, let's go to Carl's Jr. And my kids aren't exposed to that kind of crap. I don't want my kids exposed to the same shit I was exposed to, convincing me that I have to buy the latest toy, the latest gadget, the best game system, when the whole way through they're bullshitting how great it is, and as a kid, you want to believe it. And I thought we would get past that, but it really is up to the parents. And I feel like I've educated my kids well enough to know that you're not going to get what you think you're going to get. When you buy that fancy, exciting-looking toy, it's just a blob of plastic, once you get it home. But now we have a bigger issue on top of all these things. And that's for the last 2 years, while people have been fighting over the pandemic, the rules, restrictions, all the different divisions politically and otherwise, stuck in the middle are the kids who missed an entire fucking year of school. Pardon my language. But a year of school is significant. For an adult, we don't think much of it. We think, oh, well, it's just a year, whatever. That's an entire grade of their school experience. And I know some people don't like the school system. I don't blame them. Yeah, it was made for cookie cutter kids. I send my kids for the socialization, for the interaction with their friends. Which is why even after being closed for a year and a half after opening up this year, now we have this issue in the schools where the kids are still forced to mask, even when, as a year ago, I would support that. I've looked at the data since then, which took time to come out. The real data concerning if all these kids are wearing it, is it a benefit? Or is it a benefit to sit there with a crying 2-year-old and force him to put on a mask in order for him to go on an airplane, kick the entire family off because a 2-year-old will not put on a mask? This is where we're at right now. This is the point where we're starting to lose our shit, and we really have to keep our cool. I mean, our kids are growing up, and they're going to replace the current generations as the leaders of the world, the leaders of their own lives, if there's a world left to lead. But the point being here that these kids deserve better. Even the current generations, they will sit there and talk shit about Gen Z or what do they call them? The millennial generation or Gen Z. You've heard it, and this is where we get the okay boomer, meme. It's, you've got these old, not everyone, but a lot of people saying, oh, look at the kids these days. They're spoiled. They have everything they want. And all they're doing is complaining. It's like, no, they don't. They don't have what you had. The conglomerate wealth that has built up over the decades is definitely not being spread around. If you look at the wealth disparity and the gaps, the math speaks for itself. People will tell you, oh, well, this is good for business and this is good for society and it's a trickle-down economy. None of this is true, because all you have to do is look at the actual numbers and look at how well we're doing as a nation. We're the most prosperous we've ever been, yet more people are suffering than ever before. And if we allow the next generation to come up and endure all this bullshit, then we're going to be in for more problems. And so we should step back for a minute and say, the most important thing we should be doing right now is fostering the next generation, instilling your children not with the values that you think are necessarily important, but the ones you think will be most beneficial to them. It's not about our religious values or our political values. It's about allowing them to have that open mind, to think about things, to work things through, and hopefully do better than we've done. That's all I got. Thanks for listening. Talk to you next time. Take care of each other. Take care of the kids. Gotta go pick mine up now.